All right, well, good evening and welcome to our Teen Workplace panel. This month we are featuring Allison and she's going to introduce herself in a little minute. We're working on nonprofits, and I happen to work with Willis City when I worked at the Cedar Rapids Public Library, and they are an absolutely wonderful organization. So along with Allison, today we also have Yasmina, our Teen Services intern. And so we are going to be taking it in turns, grilling Allison on what it's like to do her job. So for starters, Allison, can you just let everybody know who you are and what it is you do for work every day?
Absolutely. So, hey, everybody, I'm Allison. I work at Willis City Homeless Services, the largest provider of homeless services in Cedar Rapids, just up the highway from Iowa City. What I do every day, I'm the development coordinator. So a lot of my work is focused on our social media, marketing, outreach, kind of more of those behind the scenes details. I work on our website. I do a lot of our design work. I kind of have a lot of roles. I also do some stuff with like our donor tracking and goods donations, and I kind of work with a lot of people. So I kind of jump from thing to thing.
Awesome.
When did you decide you wanted to work in nonprofits?
That is a great question. So I actually went to school up in Dubuque at Clark University. And when I first got to Clark University for my bachelor's degree, I wanted to do like archival work with like history, just kind of recording the cool things that have happened in our communities and around the world. I had a really fun internship with the Sisters of Charity up there. The nuns are great. If you ever get a chance to work with them, they are fantastic people. But when I was there, I realized that instead of just recording history, I wanted to be a part of it. And I was looking into ways to get involved with that, like politics and all this stuff. But I really kind of found a love for nonprofits and how they are working to change their communities and doing that on a like community-based level instead of national, or even like just a couple blocks, like working just to help improve people's lives and make our entire community better.
Great. And when you say nonprofit, I wondered if you could clarify that for our audience. Like, what does a nonprofit mean versus a corporation or a different kind of company? And would you say that, well, how would you compare a nonprofit like Willis City to other types of nonprofits? Like, how are they the same? How are they different?
Yeah, that's also a great question. Nonprofits are unique. So a lot of when people are going to look for jobs, they look for like corporations who are going to, they sell a product in our community, right? It's like Coca-Cola sells soda and other kind of products. That's a corporation. They are out there looking for profit from selling things. And nonprofits, on the other hand, are usually providing services that are free or very low cost to our community, often looking at groups that need a little bit more help or are marginalized in our communities, to help them reach goals and like be more involved with what we normally do in the community. So like Willis City, for example, we are a homeless services agency, but we do a lot more than that nowadays. So we have a shelter in downtown Cedar Rapids where we have a lot of space for, I think, 50 single men and 4 families, 10 veterans at once. And that's only part of our services. We don't make people pay to come and stay at the shelter. So that's one of the key things I think I notice with nonprofits is that they often are free, or they're really low cost, or they have like some sort of scholarship program to get people involved. Other things that we do up at Willis City is we have employment services. So we like connect people who are experiencing homelessness back into the workforce, kind of help them get used to being under a boss again, and connect them with places that are going to really work for their employment needs, like an overnight shift or maybe a morning shift so they can pick up their kids at school, those kind of stuff, alongside housing services. So nonprofits are a different kind of employment space, because we have the corporate for-profit world where everybody's always worried about making more money than they're putting in, where nonprofits are always usually more focused on what we're doing in the community and how we're helping people rather than making a profit at the end of the year.
Thanks.
And I know you said that you had started in Clark College in Dubuque. Sorry for my stutter there. But what education specifically, like what classes, what steps did you take to end up in the job that you're in? And are there anything that high school students could do in high school to kind of get a leg up on their, I don't want to say competitors, because nonprofits, like you were just saying, it's not about competition, but to, place themselves ahead in their resumes?
Oh, absolutely. There is a lot that you can do. So I made kind of a stark jump in college, right? I went from doing like archival history work and then looking to be in the nonprofit kind of community aspect. And it took a lot of steps for me to get there. So I was in my history degree and I did a couple internships over the summer as I was kind of like questioning what I was wanting to do. I was at HACAP's Hawkeye Area Community Action Program here in Cedar Rapids. I worked with their First Five team. They were a really great resource for me. I got to see what like case management looked like and some of these other more iconic nonprofit jobs and how that they work. I also did a couple more internships. One of them was in Dubuque while I was in school at Lutheran Services in Iowa. I know they're kind of expanding down to our area, but they're mostly up in northern Iowa still. I also that was a great one for me because I got to see like foster care and behavioral behavioral health intervention situations. And that's really my biggest thing is that if you're interested in something, I recommend finding an internship over the summer, maybe seeing if you could do a couple hours every week with them, like during the school year, kind of just getting your toes in the water. I feel like I learned pretty quickly on for me that I wasn't interested in doing case management, which is a more direct one-on-one. You're helping people with their barriers to like going to work, or you're helping them find housing, and you're doing a lot of that direct communication and service with people. That wasn't really my jam. So I decided that I wanted to go more into the kind of nonprofit administration or like community practice. And what that kind of looks like is more of the leading programs, developing new nonprofits, or going into things like I'm doing, which is like the marketing communications, sharing all the cool success stories we've got going on at Willis Stady. Yeah, I think for those, the most helpful thing I did was I just kind of built those skills in communicating stories and doing graphic design kind of stuff. So if you're more interested in the case management side where you're working directly with people, helping them get into the like housing or jobs or things that will help them move forward and like build stability in their lives, I recommend taking like some sociology, psychology, any of those kind of more learning about people and how to interact with them. But if you're looking for that nonprofit administrative kind of side that I'm in, doing more of those Photoshop, video editing, or those technological things will be very helpful.
And I know you said, you don't work in a caseworker capacity. However, you do work with a part of our community who are going through a lot of transitional things and are facing tough things. And you, obviously, with nonprofits, sometimes you're wearing a lot of hats and you have deadlines. Do you find it hard just because of who we're helping in this capacity, but also your deadlines and things? Do you find it hard to switch off when you get home, or how are you able to take care of yourself or decompress after a day's work?
Oh yeah, that is probably like the hardest thing. And I would say that's the biggest thing about nonprofits is that we get into our professions not for the money, not for the recognition or the social status. We get into it because we care. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to turn off at the end of the day. Yeah. I think that I'm really tempted to like be like, oh, I could just do like a couple hours of work from home tonight. Like, no worries. Like I can get those extra few things done that will make me feel better for tomorrow. But luckily I have really great supervisors. Our directors here at Willis Sadie really encourage us to leave our computers at the office, leave your work phone charging on your table. Don't feel like you have to take it home and answer calls outside of the workday. I think that's really important. It's you yourself when you're working with people, even just your teammates or your coworkers or people who themselves are in crisis. It's really central that you as a person feel rested, you feel able to face the day, and that you're able to avoid like burnout and stress and just the overwhelmingness of the situations that our clients can be in sometimes.
Yeah.
And so now that we kind of went over, like, I don't want to say that's a negative part of the job because the fact that you care is so great. But are there rewarding parts of the job that you want to highlight as well? Things that, I guess, because you care, you know, those good things that make you want to go to work every day.
Oh, absolutely. I feel that the good things overwhelmingly outweigh the negative. In my role, a lot of what I do is a lot of community work. So even though I'm not directly working with our clients, I'm working with, you know, parents in the community who are interested in learning about how they can help homeless children, or I'm talking with donors who are actively supporting our mission and our vision here at Willis Sadie and getting to hear their why and like why they are want to be champions for people experiencing homelessness. Those interactions are always so fun. We have a couple of events every year where the last couple of years it's been weird because of you know, the current situation of the world, but we've been doing these hops for housing nights where we get to hang out with people who buy tickets, and it's been so inspiring just to like hear them say like, oh yeah, I experienced homelessness when I was a young adult, and so I give back so that nobody else has to. I think the most thing that gives me the most feels though is when I am at shelter, and I am at shelter every now and again, and I get to talk to our clients when they need like toothbrushes or toothpaste or things like that. And if I haven't seen a client for a while, it's always kind of fun when I get to go chat with the case manager for a minute and be like, hey, have you seen so and so? Like, what's going on? And it always makes me feel so good when they say, oh yeah, they got a job and got their own apartment, or oh yeah, they're moved and they're just getting settled in. And it just really, it warms your heart, and it reminds you that throughout all the craziness, all of the chaos and the crisis that our clients face, that we're really making an impact, that we're able to help people gain stability and just move into permanent situations on their own. It's so good.
Yeah, yeah. I know even just the fact that libraries are shifting too, and at Cedar Rapids Public Library to actually have somebody from Willis City to be in the library and have office hours and circulate around the library to meet folks who are coming in, and you know, maybe it's their first couple of weeks in Cedar Rapids, and you know, having that support system is just a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, Wes does an amazing job up
I
there. He's our
know.
library navigator. He
Yes.
loves
He's so
connecting
great.
with people and chatting with them. So we're so grateful to have that partnership with the Cedar Rapids Library.
Yeah, that's great. So to play devil's advocate a little bit, it sounds like you got your feet wet with a lot of different aspects of your career. So you had a good idea what you were expecting, but what were some challenging things about your position, and what are some things that maybe you didn't expect?
I feel like I have opened so many cans of worms. Like I was super prepared for what Will City asked of me when on like the job description. Like, you know, I can handle newsletters. I can handle sending out like, you know, emails and just talking with our donors and handling our social media. But it is such an interesting realm of like nonprofit best practices. So the idea of best practices are what we as like a nonprofit community kind of expect from our nonprofits and what we want to provide. And there are so many more best practices for like social media and donor acknowledgement and events and stuff like that than I ever imagined. So it has been quite the learning curve.
Yeah.
But I think it's been so worth it. And we, of course, I started at Willow City in June of 2020. So I kind of started like mid-pandemic. And so we had to do some pivoting of our major fundraisers just in that first year. So I think that was probably the biggest curveball I faced, was having to take like a large like beer tasting event and making it into a virtual, like on your own experience.
Right.
Or like, you know, even the hard decisions to like cancel events. I know that's pretty unique to like the time period that we're in right now, but I feel like that happens every day at nonprofits, where you just have to like make that decision, make that judgment call, and move forward the best you can.
Yeah.
And so you've kind of gone over a lot of the job descriptions. What kind of person, what qualities in a person make them more likely to succeed in your line of work?
Yeah, and I'll take that in two parts. I want to kind of talk about my position, but then also like the case manager, caseworker side of nonprofits, because I think they take different qualities. For my position, I think somebody who has the ability to multitask and keep track of deadlines. You can use a calendar. I do. I have reminders for everything. But somebody who can manage kind of like multiple things at once, like think you're doing like website design, you're doing social media content and writing the content, like the copywriting for that. You're also like planning events, and you're doing donor engagement and talking to donors on the phone, and kind of just doing those multi-channel communication strategies. So yeah, I think having those, the ability to focus on multiple things at once while still being able to meet your deadlines is really key for somebody who's in that administrative marketing development kind of role. For case management, I think it's super crucial to have the ability to listen, to motivate, and to build relationships. I think that sometimes we kind of step back and we're like, oh, I can just like send some emails, or I can like, you know, leave voicemails. But what you want to be doing with your clients is you're not just there to like be a sounding board for them. You're there to help them reach their goals, to motivate them to move forward, and to help them build like great habits that will lead to permanent stability and self-sufficiency. At least at Willow City. That's part of our vision, is the self-sufficiency part of things. So yeah, I think if you have to kind of like people for the case management side of things. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I guess just for a clear or like just to add another element to that, would you say both of those positions really need an independent worker as well, somebody who's going to be able to take control of what they're doing every day, or does one position or the other kind of give you more chances to be under direct supervision?
Oh yeah. I would say, yeah, I think both of them do require a lot of independence. I will say our supervisors here at Willow Sadie are really great about checking in with us and helping us with whatever we need. Truly, I love the fact that I have a dedicated hour with my boss every week where we can talk about whatever we want. And that has been super helpful for like bouncing ideas off, or like for me, it's sometimes it's like, oh, hey, I can't really figure out what to do with this campaign, or I'm really struggling with like some social media content. Would you help me brainstorm? Or like, hey, I don't think that email was received very well by our audience. Like, can we kind of figure out what to do next time? I think supervision is crucial for any role, and I've really appreciated it here at Willow Sadie. On the case management side of things, I think that our supervisors are a lot more directly involved with our case managers on a day-to-day, because they ask questions about like, hey, I tried this resource and it didn't work. Do you have any other ones that you think that this client would fit well with? Definitely a good collaborative atmosphere, but yeah, independence is important in making sure that you're testing all your avenues, and you're being able to get your clients connected to whatever resources they need in like a timely manner, or or setting up meetings and like doing those kind of things. Yeah, I think independence is a great skill as well.
So I want to pivot just a little bit and talk about, you know, like you mentioned earlier, nonprofits, you're not being traded on the stock market or getting, you know, bunches of oodles of money in. So when you think about, you know, a career track, like maybe if you're planning on being a CNA and then moving to a 2-year program and then a nurse and then maybe a nurse practitioner, what kind of career ladder do you think people look to when they're going into nonprofit?
What I love about nonprofits is that it's very like there's a lot of variety in what degrees that people have and what experience that they have. Um, I would say the most traditional route is probably going into a 2 or 4 year program for human services or social work. I think that those skills or those programs give you a lot of good foundational skills about helping people and building relationships. Also with just getting you familiar with the community that you're in. I think that a lot of that can also be supplemented if, like, let's say you went and got a 2-year degree in business administration and you decide afterwards, you're like, oh man, I really want to go into social work, into nonprofit work. A lot of that can be supplemented with internships. More of what I've noticed with like job postings in the nonprofit world is that degrees are preferred because it shows that you have a dedication to be able to train and do something and see through that result. But it's not necessarily a 4-year degree. It can be a 2-year degree. It can be also just experience. Part of my thing is that I got my master's in social work, but I had a bachelor's in history. That wasn't really proving that I, know how to talk to people or do marketing or do some of that other stuff. So really what interested Willis Sadie and me as a candidate was that I had some extracurriculars, like being in the school journalism in college and just doing some of those marketing social media projects that I could then show them like, hey, I've done this before. So I think that I love the nonprofit field because it's not like you have to have a 4-year degree in this specific field to be able to work with us. We are really into honoring lived experiences and career journeys, especially with some of our programs. So like with our case managers, it's always so much easier for a case manager to relate to a client and build rapport if they themselves have experienced homelessness. And we have multiple members of our staff who have actually come into Willis Sadie and moved into full-time positions through being a client and being able to work and build skills with our employment programs and then ending up on staff with us. Same with our veterans program. We really like to make sure that our veterans case managers or people who are working with them have those experiences through relatives, through their own service to our country, and through some other things like that. So there's a lot of variety in how you can get started in a nonprofit. Yeah.
And you've kind of covered this, but are there any specific like places that people should be looking for internships or volunteer work? And I know you've already said a variety of experiences kind of add to the environment of the helping people service industry. But is there anything in particular that people should be looking for when they're looking at internship ads, like this job will give you such and such experience?
Oh, absolutely. I think that for like these more program development and administrative nonprofit leadership kind of roles, I think it's always helpful to look for internships where you can kind of be in control of something. Sometimes like internships will say, hey, we want you to start our social media program, or we want you to maintain our, I guess I haven't been an intern for a while, but like maintaining things or being able to innovate on them. I think if you're explaining your experiences at an internship, the key things that you want to look for are like innovation or improvement. Creation of things is always nice. Part of the reason why I got my position here at Willis Sadie is because I sent them like 4 to 6 samples of things that I had done in the past, because they were like, hey, you don't really have a marketing degree. We were kind of looking for that. So like, can you show us what you've done so we can kind of see what experiences you've had? So even if it doesn't seem like it quite fits what you are looking for in your future career, don't be afraid to try it. And a lot of places at internships, especially in the nonprofit field, are okay with you shifting around to different teams. part of the reason why I like the Lutheran Services internship so much is that I got to pick. I got to be like, hey, I'm going to spend a month with the disability services team, and I'm going to spend 3 months with foster care because I really liked working in foster care. And I'm going to spend just a couple weeks with BHIS. So yeah, if you're looking for an internship, I guess ones that can give you more range and more broad experiences will help you be able to test what you like, and then be able to narrow that down into future internships or potentially just starting jobs in those areas.
I know you mentioned how supportive your supervisors were and your other colleagues during high school and throughout college, and even now in your professional life. Have you ever had a mentor, or have you ever had anybody that has helped you on your career path, and how important do you think that is?
Oh, I love mentors. They are fantastic. And I think they come in many shapes and sizes. Throughout high school, I had a couple of teachers that I was just really close with who took some extra time, even though it's not in their job description, to just kind of work through college applications and work through like, hey, what are you interested in? One of those was my junior and senior year English teacher, because I was a part of the paper in high school, like the newspaper we did. Mrs. Dake was really informative with me, and she helped me kind of pick what schools to look into and kind of helped me narrow my focus down from doing like Indiana Jones type career, because that's what I really wanted to do, to travel the world and like bring artifacts back from museums, to be like, okay, but like, what do you like about that? And so I think that it's mentors are really great to help you kind of figure out what path you're going down. A more recent mentor beyond my coworkers and people here at Willis Stady is in my master's program. One of our professors, Okara Rice, who's the CEO of Tanger Place. We just kind of became like peer friends, right? So like nowadays we go out for like happy hours and just kind of talk about how things are going in the nonprofit sector and kind of like where I'm thinking I'm going to end up. And that all started because I took him up on an invitation for office hours coffee. So, and I think that one of the hardest things about finding mentors is finding them outside of your educational systems.
Yeah.
So I 100% encourage you to find them while you're in there. Build relationships with your professors. Find those club leaders or those people who you really admire and just reach out to them. It's no harm, no foul. Yeah. Like if they say no, try again later. It's always a learning experience, and you don't know where it could lead. I graduated in 2020, and I'm talking with Okara every now and again, and friends with my high school teacher on Facebook, and so we can kind of catch up and stay in the loop.
Awesome. Yasmina, do you have any other questions?
I guess I was just wondering if high schoolers are looking to perhaps get involved with Willis Stady, is it? Is there a certain volunteer position that you guys are looking for? Are there certain donation things that you guys are looking for? Or in general, how they can get involved with perhaps homeless shelters or other nonprofits in the local community?
Absolutely. We love volunteers at Willis Stady. A lot of the support that we receive for our services is great financially, but it's even more so through volunteering in our community. The biggest thing is that we currently don't have on-site positions for under 18 for liability reasons, and just for safety of teenagers. But one of the coolest opportunities we do have is a blog writing volunteer shift. So we have a blog on Willis Stady, willisstady.org/blog. It has a lot of cool resources and a lot of guest blog writers where there's a couple of kids in California who write some blog posts for us. We've had some adults writing more editorial type content. So yeah, we would love to have some more high school blog writers. We also have some other opportunities just for educational experiences. Any of our events, I think that we can have parents volunteering with their kids or guardians volunteering with their teens. Another fun way to get involved in general with really any nonprofit is to work on donation drives and doing some more of these like fundraisers or hosting a bake sale and donating it back to your local favorite place. Those are some of those ways that you can kind of get involved without being on site for places like homeless shelters. But any of our staff are totally interested in talking and explaining more about what we do and what the services we provide are. Our volunteer coordinator, Sierra, is super friendly and she loves to talk about options for volunteering. So yeah, if anybody's interested, on our website, we have a volunteer page that you can look at, or you can just email Sierra. It's just Sierra@Willis-Sadie. Or if you guys have any questions about anything, I am totally open to talk with anybody who'd be interested. So yeah, Allison@willissadie.org. Yeah.
We'll make sure we put all those links in so people know how to find you and where your events page is and how we can get teens involved. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I have seen firsthand just the amazing work that you do in Cedar Rapids, and you truly transform people's lives, and we're so thankful to have you in the community.
Oh, thank you so much.
you.
That's a good part too, is hearing from other people who see what's going on. So that always makes me feel good.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for being with us.